Well, hello there. Welcome to day 3 of Speak Like a Leader. Today, our topic is Inside the Leader's Mind, why your great ideas keep getting overlooked. Thus far in the challenge, we have talked about your words, your value, and your impact. Today I'm going to share something that I believe will completely change how you see leadership. And it'll change if you're paying attention and you embody what I'm telling you, how you show up as a leader. So let's go into the inside of a leader's mind. Have you ever had that moment where you're sharing your idea and your boss seems to get impatient before you can even finish your words or your sentence? Or maybe you've been in a meeting and an executive cuts your explanation short. Now, I used to think that all of this was personal and quite frankly rude, and I'm not saying it's not, but I'm going to give some comments. As I continued to move up, as I continued to be in rooms where C-suite leaders were, I discovered something that changed everything about how I understood leadership, especially at the executive level and above. Here's what's really happening in those rooms where decisions are getting made. In the middle, you're thinking about getting things right. They're thinking about millions in revenue at stake. While in the middle, you're focused on process improvements, they're worried about market share. While you're worried about team dynamics, they're focused on board expectations. Now, let me make this real for you. In many organizations, senior leaders, executive leaders, C-suite leaders, bonuses can range anywhere from $100K to $500K or more. And I'm not talking about their base salary. I'm talking about just bonuses, stock options, etc. Think about that for a moment. Let that sit in. Let that settle in your spirit. When you have $500,000 riding on your decisions, you look at everything differently. This is why your leader gets impatient with details. Time is money, honey. This is why they want the bottom line first. Decisions affect stock prices. This is why they can sometimes seem distracted. It's because they have multiple high-stakes priorities swirling around in their heads. It's like juggling and they're trying to keep all the balls in the air. This is also why sometimes we can see that they push for faster results. Oftentimes, that is because they are receiving pressure from boards, from shareholders, etc., above them, people who impact those bonuses I was talking about. Here's something else that will change how you see every meeting. Leaders operate on pattern recognition. Now, when we think about pattern recognition, I'm going to give some other examples, but I want to give one, especially because I'm talking to women. Pattern recognition also applies to how communication is received. Many of you will tell me that you work in male-dominated fields. The reality of it is we all work in male-dominated fields. Either men are dominating the top of the house, so a lot of times in healthcare, there are more women overall, but more men dominating the higher levels. In other industries, whether it's manufacturing or things like that, men are dominating. Engineering, men are dominating. In some other aspects of healthcare, doctors, etc., men are dominating in that industry. And we have to remember that women as a collective have not been in the workplace, professional workplaces at higher levels for but a generation. And we are still in that generation. If you are Generation X, then you are a trailblazer. You are the first group of women who have been in the job force in numbers and have made it to various ranks between the middle and upper levels. Now, I know that we might not like those numbers, but I want you to also reframe how far we've come. So when you tell me that your industry is dominated by men, I just want you to know you're not alone. All of our industries are dominated by men. The only industry that may not be dominated by men, and I could argue differently, but perception wise, would be the nonprofit space. Because that industry tends to be heavily dominated by women, white women at the top specifically. Okay, so when we think about pattern recognition, and if who is at the top, rather, is men, then the pattern for communication that they recognize is the pattern from men. So there's that. So when we as women think about communicating, we have to remember that these are men. Take the men in your life, take your husbands, your partners, etc., your dad, your sons. What is their attention span like? Keep that in mind when you're at work. On top of that, if we're talking about leaders in general, there are also things like at some point when you get experience, you've seen so many presentations, there are so many projects, so many updates that sometimes your mind just already knows where we're going with this. And so I've automatically made a decision in my head about how this is going to end or my decision before you even finish. When you start with background details, in their mind, they've already categorized you as someone who is tactical, not strategic. When you can't get to the point quickly, they assume you don't understand what matters. Think about your last meeting with senior leaders or executive leaders. Were you focused on sharing your expertise because you want them to know how smart you are and your ego is in overdrive? Meanwhile, they are looking for the business impact. This applies to meetings with your boss or your boss's boss as well, no matter what level you currently sit. Were you building context while they were looking for the bottom line? When you understand that they are playing for keeps, their reputation, their bonus, their position in the organization and in the marketplace, because again, reputation, you start to see why they need clear business impacts because their bonuses are tied to results. That they are scanning for risk to their goals because their reputation is at stake. They are focused on market implications because there are competitive pressures. They also want quick, concrete takeaways because again, time is money, honey. But here's what's fascinating. Once you understand how they think, you'll start seeing opportunities everywhere. That project update, it's not just about status, it's about market position. Anything in today's market that is getting the green light to go ahead, that we are putting funds behind, we are buying software, what have you, it is all in an effort to drive more revenue, increase our market position, or something fundamental that is going to impact where we are playing and where we sit in the marketplace. That process improvement project, it is not about efficiency to them. It is not about correcting something that has gone wrong. It's about competitive advantage. If we can improve upon this process, I can cut heads. Bottom line. If we can improve upon this process, I can reallocate these resources, whether it be human capital, monetary capital, however you want to look at it. That's how they see it. They are not giving green lights to process improvement for the sake of having the most efficient and effective process. You see how passionate I said that? And I'm saying it with love as someone who loves project improvements, whose experience is deeply, heavily in process, project improvements, change management, things like that. So I get it. This is why I'm so passionate in telling you that's not how they see it. As you spend more time in meetings, paying attention to folks, understanding how they think, you'll also start to recognize that there are different types of leaders too. And you want to understand the different type of leaders that you are engaging with, because what matters to them may also be different. You have, for example, your leader who is all about the numbers and the return on investment first. You have your visionary leader who is looking to make a name for themselves, or maybe they're looking to make an impact in the marketplace. You have leaders like myself who are pragmatic, and we tend to focus on the risk. And there is a place for people like me, like you, in the organizational structure from senior executive and C-suite above. You also have innovative leaders who are always looking for cutting edge opportunities. A lot of times in today's market, you'll find these folks in tech and trying to bring your organization up to speed with the latest technology, which means technology might be changing rapidly in your organization. So I really want you to sit with what I've just given you, because I know that a lot of times we don't understand why we get the reactions that we do. We don't understand why they don't see the importance of that project or that process improvement opportunity. We don't see why, even though I'm trying to explain it to them, they're not listening. And a big part of it is understanding how they think and what they are thinking about. This is how you influence people. This is how you get the outcomes that you desire. So for today's takeaway, I want you to observe your leaders through this new lens. Watch their patterns. What grabs their attention? What makes them tune out? What questions do they ask first? And then second, notice and understand the stakes. What pressure are they under? What metrics do they mention the most? How do they react to risk? Now, remember, and as a disclaimer and a point of clarity, understanding how leaders think isn't about manipulation. We are not looking to manipulate people. We are looking for win-win situations. Right now, we are in a situation where they are winning and we are not. So we're looking to level the playing field. And in order to do so, it's about translation. It's about understanding. It's about us, women, Black women, women of color, evolving to the next level. We've been kind of stuck in this place that we have been in, and now it's time to evolve. It's time to look up. It's time to pay attention. When you understand their world, you can translate your brilliance into their language. Tomorrow we'll be talking about how to be strategically visible in this environment. But for now, start watching the game being played around you, looking for their patterns, noticing that what is at stake for them, and you might be surprised what you see. I'll talk to you tomorrow for day 4 of Speak Like a Leader.